Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back with the FIA Nations Top 16 Superstars race at Autodrome Lego Maggiore in the Red Bull X 2019. So we've talked about this track in other videos. It's not my strongest track. However, the Red Bull car is a car that I do enjoy driving. It's high downforce, it's got grip, it is still tricky to drive with that grip, so I do enjoy driving. It is one of my stronger cars. So all was not lost for this top 16 race. We decided to do it, and I think I could have got probably a better result by doing the race after, but I just wanted to be in the top 16 race. We're not going to qualify for the World Tour event, so just decided to do the top 16 race. A bit more, obviously the top drivers in here. Managed to put it on P7 on the grid, which wasn't really that bad, to be fair. Did quite a good lap time with a 1 minute 33.6, which was a personal best, which was a nice time to do it, if I'm honest, because like I say, looking at the grid, if we would have done an averagely good lap of a 33.8 to 9, we would have been quite far back. You can see all the way still in the 1 minute 33.8 down to P10, so that shows you how competitive this lobby was. Then there was a big jump to P11, 3 or 4 tenths off that time. Shows you just how competitive this lobby was. The top 10 really, pushing the limits there. I think Pole was on that 33.0 or something, or 33.1, something like that. Insane lap time by Baptist there on P1. But 15 people in this race. I believe there was a disconnection either in qualifying or just before the race started. I can't exactly remember, but we're going to start this race. We're going to keep it on board with the gameplay camera for this race to try and show you about what we was doing in this race. It was a pretty simple race. It was 9 laps, 1 pit stop as Adam there, Williams Adam, got too much wheel spin off the start, which is something you have to be very careful with this car. If you get the wheel spin going and keep your foot planted, it just does what happened to Adam there, and he pretty much ruined his top 16 race straight away. I take advantage. We're in P6. However, we've got PR1 Josette behind us, who goes for a lunge there, basically pushes me out of the way. A little bit rude, but early stages, people are going to try and make up their places as much as possible, purely because this car has so much dirty air that once you're stuck in that dirty air, it's very hard to do anything about the car in front. So can kind of understand why Josette did that. It was a little bit aggressive, but it was kind of fair. It was aggressive but fair, really. As we go through the real twisty section, just look at the understeer that we're getting through here, because we're getting a double loss of slipstream. Obviously, when you're behind 2 or 3 cars in that dirty air, you get so much understeer. It was really hard to get used to. Obviously, I hadn't done any practice races before the first slot, which was obviously a few hours before this race, and then this was my second race doing this, so wasn't 100% used to being in dirty air, because we'd done practice races the night before, and I was starting from pole and led it all the way, so was kind of a learning thing, really. I did do a little bit better in this one, driving in dirty air, than I did in the first slot race. As you see, sticking to Josette through here, a very close battle developing. You can see Josette seems to be all over Williams Giorgio there in front of him, as I'm just trying to hold on at the moment with this, struggling with this loss of aero when we're very close to other cars. Obviously, the Red Bull X 2019 is known for how difficult it is to drive in dirty air, and this track is also quite a bad track for being in dirty air. It's a lot of fast corners, mid to fast corners, and then slow corners separating them, like this first sector. Very slow, tricky corners that really do test your ability to get the traction down when you're in the slipstream. As you see Josette again going for that. I feel that was a little bit dirty again, and a little bit too aggressive. I think Giorgio agrees with that. You can see Giorgio giving him some shoulders out action there. He's obviously not too happy with what Josette did there. I felt like that was a bit too aggressive again, but again, it's pretty much the only place you can go for an overtake due to the slipstream, or possibly at the end of the straight after this really fast corners. But the problem with these fast corners is you lose so much downforce when following a car through here. You can see that Giorgio really struggling to keep the car even on the track, and I'm also struggling as well when we're in that dirty air. But Josette obviously not got a car in front of him, so able to take a lot of speed through there. Now Williams Giorgio, is he going to have a little look up the inside to make a move here? He has a little look and he's going to throw it up there. Obviously, he's decided to return the favour to Josette for the move that Josette made on him, and to be fair, that was just pretty equal to what Josette did, so he's obviously returning that as Josette fights back. A lot of arms out action here now, pushing people around a bit, but this is all good for myself and Williams Coquet behind us, who's looking to take advantage of this. You can see I'm trying to see if there's going to be a penalty or anything. I was convinced at this time that these two were going to get penalties, and myself and Williams Coquet might be able to jump up into 2 places here, which would have been nice for a top 16 race to pick up some decent points. because obviously these races still are not that massive points. I think you only get, I think it was 3.2 or 3.3 for the win in this race, which, considering it's a top 16 superstars race, you would think it'd be a bit higher than that. However, I'm hoping that'll all get sorted out in the future with the point system. I'm presuming there's going to be some big changes with the way points are dished out, the way points are being done, and the races and stuff like that. As Williams Goat giving me a lot of nudging through that corner. He obviously was able to cope with that dirty a lot better than me, because he was really pushing and actually gave me a few nudges. And again, into the braking zone here, trying to get the car into the apex, but struggling to. But Williams Coke again, seemed to be able to really get the car into the apex of that corner and putting me under a lot of pressure at this time of this race. But like I say, this is not a strong track for myself, just trying to hold on really. And if I can finish this race in P7, I'll be 100% happy really, because to finish top 7 in P7 in a top 16 superstars race at a track you're not particularly good at. I do know that this car is very strong. We picked up a top split win in this car, and obviously the Group 1 race we did, which again is high downforce at Interlagos, we picked up a P1, and pretty much all our best results have been in either the Group 1 cars or Group 2 or the Red Bull car, because they are all high-speed cars. So this car does suit me, so that's probably why we're still in P7 at the moment, just trying to hold on. But Williams Giorgio there, not really pulling away too much. We're managing to stay within the range of him, but to be honest, it's probably best to stay outside the slipstream range. You want to be probably around 1.4 to 1.3, 1.5 seconds behind, because anything close and you pick up the dirty air. But look in the mirror there, Williams Coquet decided to pit early. Very brave move. I didn't expect that, and he's caught me out a little bit there in this race, because I expected the first pit stoppers to be going in on lap 4. I did think that it would be possible to pit lap 3, but I felt like the tyres would be very, very worn towards the end of the race. So Williams Coquet, what he's got to do now is put an absolutely massive outlap in, and I've got to try and do a really good in lap now before I pit, because I'm going to be pitting on this lap. Lap 4 seemed like the best time to pit for myself. So Williams Coquet's got to do a very strong outlap, and then he's got to be able to maintain them tyres. So he's got to really make sure he's looking after them tyres. One thing he won't want is to be coming out that pits behind another car. That will completely mess up his strategy, because them tyres are going to start wearing. They're going to be getting a lot of understeer on the front. The rears are going to be struggling for traction. He's going to be spinning up the wheels more, and that's going to really wear them tyres out. So this is going to be really interesting. Where will Williams Coquet come out of the pits, and where will he come out once I've come out of the pits? Where will it all where will we all filter into each other? This is going to be really interesting. It was quite a short pit stop. Obviously they have changed the pitting distance. If you haven't noticed, on the last patch they've done something where now pit stops are much shorter, a little bit unrealistically short if I'm brutally honest, because for example, when we go in the pits we only lose about, I think it was about 4 seconds, or it was something like that, 3 or 4 second pit lane loss, which when you think it takes a couple of seconds to change tyres, you've got to stop the car and then pull away again, and you've got to go down the pit lane entry, which would supposedly be going down with a limited speed. It's not correct, let's be brutally honest. So let's just watch this as we go in the pits. You go straight into your pit lane boxes, no time from when you enter the pit lane, so you're basically going straight in and straight out. Look, so basically the whole pit lane is not driven. It's really strange how they've done it. There's no time that you actually drive down with the speed limiter on. So Williams Coquet there just about managed to come out ahead of me, so he did enough. I did expect that he'd be a little bit further, because he went in right behind me. I thought he might have actually come out a little bit further, so we did quite a solid in lap, to be fair. However, Williams Coquet just doing enough. Maybe he got caught up in a little bit of traffic on his outlap, which would have been expected, but that undercut has worked for him, so now he's just got to hold on. And I did really expect him to be able to pull away, because I think he was stronger at this track. I think in qualifying he had a lot more potential, but just didn't really hook up his lap completely, and that's why he started a bit further behind. So now the aim is really just to stay with him for as long as possible. Technically I should be able to stay within kind of reach of him, because I've got fresher tyres on, but I've got to get these tyres warmed up. So for this lap now, again, it's going to be hard to stay with him, because he's got them tyres fully up to range. He's back into the being used to them tyres. I'm just trying to get back used to the extra grip that these tyres are giving. I'm driving a reasonable outlap. It's not particularly amazing, but you might have noticed as well when we went in the pits that Williams Giorgio decided to stay out for the lap longer, so he's going to go for the alternative strategy. 3 different strategies working here. You've got Williams Coquet pitting lap 3, myself pitting lap 4, and Williams Giorgio who's going to try and pit on lap 5. So this is going to be extremely close, and obviously the teammates Williams Giorgio and Williams Coquet, will they fight fair? Let's have a little look, as We're going down the main straight. This is going to be really interesting. Where will Williams Giorgio come out of the pits? Will I be able to jump him? It should be very close with the extra grip you get from fresh tyres, as he comes out just in front of me there, maybe half a second ahead. You can see it on the delta there, frustratingly close. Maybe a bit better on that outlap for myself. Might have been able to pressurise him and try and get in front of him and then give him the dirty air, but would I have been able to hold on? I think my pace was not too far short of Williams Giorgio. However, now he's got that lap fresher tyres and he's probably going to be able to pull away. You can see on the first stint we were maintaining reasonably similar speed to Williams Giorgio, to be fair. However, now obviously he's going to probably pull out a few temps, especially coming towards the second and third lap on the tyres. He's going to have that little bit fresher tyres and be able to just probably keep putting a lot more pressure on him. He's obviously now going after Williams Koke because he probably knows that Williams Koke pitted lap 3. He's going to have 2 laps fresher tyres over Williams Koke. I'm just pretty much driving my own race here now in P8. You can see we have lost a position from our pit stop, obviously, when Jose did. We have lost a position from our starting position. Obviously, Jose went for that move and managed to get ahead of myself. But if we can finish in the top 8, it wouldn't be the, like I said, it wouldn't be the worst result, you know, in these top 16 races. But we're going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing and try and see if I can make up some a place somewhere. You never know, someone could make a mistake. That's why you've got to keep pushing in these races. Everyone's pushing 100%, so the chances that someone could make an error, someone could spin, someone could get a penalty are quite high, especially in these cars where, you know, high speed corners. If people get in the dirty air, struggle with the front end, they could easily lose traction or lose grip on the front and run wide and then spin off or anything like that as we go over the line to start another lap. Only 3 more laps to go in this race now. Very short race again for this top 16 race again. It is a bit of a shame. I do remember the days when we used to have the top 24 races. They were the days, in my personal opinion, when FIA racing peaked in terms of the enjoyment in them, because they were, I think in general, they were always about FIA races in general were a couple of laps longer than daily races, and then the top 24 races were 3 or 4 laps longer than the basic FIA race. So, for example, say this race would have been, I think it would have been about 12 to 14 laps when we used to do it. That would have meant that the top 24 race would have been about 20 laps, 18 to 20 laps, and they were really enjoyable. I wish we could go back to them days, to be honest, but probably in this combination, probably better that it's shorter for me because I wasn't too strong as we now go into that tight hairpin. Try and hit that breaker on that brake marker. The 50 board was pretty much the spot that you want to look to slow down, and then on the power in second gear, nice and early, getting yourself momentum all the way up this hill now, completely flat through these corners, no lifting needed, no braking. Obviously the X 2019, a lot of downforce, and then into the braking zone, braking just about that 50 board there, down to third gear, trying to maintain the speed all the way through this corner. You can see the rear becoming a little bit loose now. You can see that the tyre wear is kicking in. We've now completed, I think it's 3 laps on these tyres. Starting lap 4, we're obviously doing the longest stint on these tyres for this run, and they are going to starting to get a little bit of tyre wear as we start that penultimate lap now. Go over the line with our best lap of the race, so it shows you that we should have really done that on the previous lap, but we got that little bit of dirty air when we were behind Williams Giorgio. When he came out the pits, picked up a bit of dirty air, which gave me a little bit of loss of traction and then grip through these corners, and that shows you just how much you do lose in terms of traction and grip when you are in the dirty air. The fact that the second flying lap was actually faster when we've got quite a high multiplier on in this race as we go again into the braking zone. A very tricky corner to hit the apex air, doing that quite nicely. Early upshift into 4th normally there, you can see just shifting just before it gets maxed out, gives you a bit more of a bite of traction as we go into this really fast flowing section. And this section's so much more enjoyable when you're not in the slipstream. You can see much more grip now compared to the start of the race when we had fresh tyres, but we were in that dirty air and we had no grip at all. But now we can push because obviously we have none of that dirty air and we're able to maximise the speed all the way through there. You can see that obviously Giorgio also he's pretty much stuck in that slipstream range to Williams Koke, struggling to really make any progress at all because he's picking up that dirty air. So it really does show you just how strong hitting that lap earlier is. Well, 2 laps earlier for Williams Koke. As Giorgio makes an error, he's actually outbraked himself, ran off wide, he's going to have dirty tyres. I decided to take advantage. Can we hang it around the outside? Squeeze to the edge of the track. Both of us, very good drive, and I have to say, thankful to Giorgio there. Kept it 100% clean, even though he had dirty tyres, and gave me just enough space. He made it as hard as he could, but gave me enough space. Just have a little watch of this just to show you how close that got on. Very respectful racing from Williams Giorgio as we go through this long right hand corner. He makes that mistake. I saw, you see the change of direction. I decided to go round the outside. I know he's going to struggle, and no contact at all. Brilliant driving from Giorgio there to give me the space one, and to give, and obviously no contact as well. So we've only got 1 lap to go now. We've got ourselves up to P7. A little bit of late drama there as Giorgio makes that little error, and that's why we kept pushing, because in this race it is so easy to make a mistake in these type of cars. But now you can see Williams Coquet well away now. We lost a bit of time obviously on that lap where we were having to do that overtake. We lost maybe 4 or 5 attempts just because the line you take through there and having to be hesitant on the power really takes a bit of the momentum out of that corner, then all the way down into the final corner. But for this lap now, just need to hold it on the track. Giorgio is going to be suffering now with that loss of aero. So unfortunately for Giorgio, he's really lost out with that late pit stop in a way, because he got stuck behind Williams Coquet, and then he was just in that dirty air, I think, and in that range where you just can't really do much about it. And in the end, he's obviously probably made a mistake partly due to that dirty air, being in the slipstream, getting on the brakes as late as he can, and maybe didn't really have the grip to brake that late and ran off the track. And yeah, I think Williams Coquet really called the best strategy by pitting lap 3. The fact that he was able to maintain his tyres, you can see he's kept the pace up as well. He's not really struggled. That shows me that he had really good pace in. Probably would have been able to challenge for a podium if he would have got his qualifying sorted, but unfortunately for him, he didn't seem to get that qualifying lap in as we now go through the final corners of this race. And coming home, it looks like we're going to pick up a P7 in this top 16 race, which is a reasonably respectful result, especially at a track that I'm not particularly strong at. It's not one of my favourites. I do tend to perform better at real life tracks like Interlagos, like I said, we said in previous videos, Fuji, etc. But taking a P7, 100% happy with that. You can see very close racing all through the field. There's some gaps developing further down where obviously people are making mistakes and stuff, but happy with that. Hope you enjoyed that race, and we come away with that race with, I think, not the most amount of points, if I'm brutally honest. This will emphasise why I believe we do need a new point system and some changes to do with driver rating for the next season of the FIA. You see, picking up 2,230 points, which isn't really that much. I actually decided to race the final race as well after this one, and picked up about, I think it was 2,000 points, because it was a very low rated lobby. I think we had like 2 or 3 disconnections again. Let's hope that gets sorted on GT Sport as well soon. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that race. I enjoyed being in it. It was enjoyable and driving the X2019, one of my favourite cars. Hope to see you all again very soon. Bye everyone.